Hello and welcome to the Lost Holocron. As always, I'm your host, James, and above me is my co-host, Richard. Richard, how are you doing this week?
Bro, I'm feeling good.
Good. So let me ask you, how hyped on a scale of 1 to 10 are you after the first 2 episodes?
I'm always hyped about Star Wars. I'm not going to say it was a 10. Like I give the first 2 episodes kind of like a 7 and an 8, respectively. But, I think the hate online that we've seen, and there's been like a shit ton of hate online for this show.
Yeah.
Like even before the first episode premiered, they were review bombing it, which is, kind of standard for Star Wars now. But I'm excited. I think they started out well, and I'm ready for more.
Hard agree. I think that I went from like a 6 out of 10 to like, I want to see this, I guess, to I need to see next week's episode yesterday. The first 2 episodes are really great at capturing your imagination and seeing where the story will take them. And I honestly disagree with a lot of the hate that says Leslie Headland isn't a good writer. But before we get into The Acolyte, I want to talk about some of the news we might have missed this week. Have you seen this? Daisy Ridley says she's soon to read the script for the new Jedi Order movie.
I did not see that. And I think they're going to kind of keep this, like under wraps because, like we just said, the online hate is just going to come. But, I'm hopeful for this movie. Like, I still think they're going to bring Finn back. You know what I mean? I think we'll kind of heal a lot of wounds if we do. And I think it's time for, just like The Acolyte, a different era from the Skywalker era. Like something in the future, a new villain, a new fucking kind of like media from Star Wars.
You think it'll be a new villain, but somehow Snoke has returned.
Nah, fuck that. I'd be so mad.
So it looks like not a whole lot outside of her just being like, yeah, we're going to read scripts soon. I'm super excited about it. But one thing to note is that the tentative release date for both this and The Mandalorian and Grogu seems to be in 2026. And then eventually, sometime after those, we'll get James Mangold's.
That's the one I'm really looking forward to because James Mangold is an insane director. I don't know if he's writing the script. I don't know how good he is that, but like he did Logan, he did The Wolverine, he did Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash biopic.
Yeah,
and they're shot beautifully. The sound in those movies is great. Like I think that'll be like sick.
So the second one I have up for us this week is Giancarlo joins the cast of Captain America: Brave New World. So
I mean, I'm kind of upset he's not going to be like in the
Professor X.
Yeah, like I know you wanted that. I know I wanted to see him like as a mutant or something like that. But like I said a couple like sessions ago, it's really good when the MCU brings in big name actors. It shows that they're not on the last leg. It shows that actors, are excited to work in this universe, and he's insane in everything he does. He takes it seriously. He loves that stuff. So I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Okay, I hate to report for you and I both, he is slated to play a fucking villain.
Yeah. I hope it's not a one-off villain though. Like that's what we don't need. Don't just kill him off in one setting.
Just make him the new Kang. Fuck it.
I don't think it's too old.
Who cares? At this point, I'm going to be honest. I want good actors before I want, like, oh, this guy matches the role perfectly,
Yeah.
And then next, we have George Miller's next Mad Max movie, potentially on hold due to Furiosa box office figures.
I mean, maybe if the movie tickets weren't like $20 each, more people will go see it. There's that Quentin Tarantino clip floating around where he talks about like how he like predicted this, went from $5 movie ticket to this, and it was a nice little date, and now it's not like that. And movies are supposed to be for like not like poor people, but like for everybody. You know what I mean? And now they're not really as much for everybody. Like I'm gonna go see the MCU movies, I'm gonna go see Star Wars, but the general movies that I was like, oh, this might be cool, let's go see it. I don't have money for that. I'm not gonna do it. Like I would love to see Mad Max Furiosa. I liked the first one. I thought it was really good, but I'm not wasting, $20 for me, my girl, money for the babysitter to go do this, and then spend money on popcorn. That's like $40
and a drink,
because
you're smuggling in the candy, of course.
Fuck yeah, bro. I used to just smuggle in McDoubles. I swear to God.
I think you've really hit on this. Like movies are just very expensive, so as much as I hate to say this, the industry wants to make guaranteed hits, but the audience also wants to see guaranteed hits. The last like non-Star Wars, non-Marvel movie I paid to go see in theaters was Evil Dead Rise. And
that's because like you personally love that is like your MCU.
I love the Evil Dead movies, but I did not really like that one at first. I had to watch it a couple more times to come around, so I walked out feeling like I had wasted $20. But
like, what was the last movie you went to go see that wasn't like in your genre? Because I can't even remember. Exactly.
I think my wife and I saw La La Land.
That's fucking a long time ago. And think about it, 10 years ago, you probably went to the movies all the time just for like movies you liked.
So, Allie, I saw Barbie, did not see Oppenheimer.
See, I didn't even see any of those movies. And I watched Oppenheimer when it came out on Peacock because I was excited. I was like, no doubt. I can't wait to see this movie, but I'm not going to waste dough to go see it in the movie theaters.
Well, I think even then, like Barbie was something like my wife saw it was coming out. Her sister lived with us at the time. They both really wanted to go. And I was like, sure, why not? It looks good. Like, I'm not going to get you guys to go watch Oppenheimer with me. And then I saw it and I was like, well, this one wins. I don't need to see Oppenheimer because Barbie was just heads and shoulders above.
You think Barbie was head and shoulders above Oppenheimer?
I've not seen Oppenheimer still yet because it is 3 hours. But in my opinion, as far as like what I thought it was going to be versus my like what I came out thinking, yeah. I really thought that the Barbie movie, I was going to kind of sit there and be like, oh, that's cool. This is cool. I cried, bro.
Was it during the America scene where she was doing the speech?
That one got me. And then the ones with Ray Perlman.
Okay.
Where like at the end, she's talking to Barbie before Barbie becomes a woman.
Yeah.
That one also got me.
I didn't see Barbie, but like I heard a lot of good things about it. Like nobody I heard like went to it and was like, oh, this is trash. They were like, oh, it's kind of funny. It's good. I enjoyed watching it. Ken was really funny. The girl who played Barbie did a really good job. It was all like those kind of critiques. Yeah. But even like we said, like these movies are great and Furiosa is great, but we both know in 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to be on streaming.
I think that's another big part of it is you wait 2 months and it's going to be out on streaming service. Like the day Barbie came out, my wife bought it on Vudu.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to wait anymore. So it's like, why go to the movie theaters if I know in 2 months it'll be on streaming? I remember I wanted to go see the Hunger Games movie, like the prequel or whatever.
The new one that just came out?
Yeah, and I like didn't get a chance to see it. I kept getting busy. And then all of a sudden I look on Prime and it's like, oh, you could rent this or buy it. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just do that.
Yeah, for real. I don't know, man. It's so hard for me to justify going to the movies. And that might be because I'm a parent now. But I also think a part of it is like with Oppenheimer. I could have gotten a babysitter and went and seen it. But do I want to sit and watch 3 hours about the building of the atomic bomb? And is like straight white man as I am yet, I still didn't want to sit there and watch it that much. I'd rather do something like that at home.
Like I watched the first hour and a half and I was like, this is really good. Like Christopher Nolan just is a good director. You know, you can direct How to Make an Avocado and be like, oh, these are really good cuts, really good sound.
Yeah, right.
But like, I don't know, like the movies used to be so much fun when I was younger. There were a lot more movies. There were a lot more like, you know, like scary movie type, you know, parodies, you know, movies like
comedy movies
every week. Like it was just, there was so much. And now the studios are such like, if it doesn't make 800 mil, I'm not greenlighting this fucking movie.
Yeah, which is why you've lost a lot of movies. For example, for me, the example I use in this is the comedy movies. Like The Hangover, This Is the End, Pineapple Express. Where are those kinds of movies in theaters these days?
Yeah.
Because I'll go watch 90 minutes of dudes making boner jokes or whatever. Easy.
It's all on Netflix now, bro. They're just streaming those kind of movies. So it's like trash.
Absolutely. But speaking of streaming, our last article for the week dovetails nicely into the big part of our episode. Leslie Headland dived into her vision in an interview this week, which I didn't realize that she did Russian Doll, but I am terrible with this sort of thing, right? But she talks in here about a lot of practical effects which showed, I think. Like, one of the things that, if you remember, I was really worried about is how much of the volume we were going to see.
Yeah.
And I really felt like we didn't see a whole lot.
The only time I could think of like real bad special, or not bad, but like special effects like that is
Obvious, yeah.
kind of like the landscape shots, like at the end when they were on that planet. It looked like it.
Mhm.
One of the initial shots in the beginning, but you know, if you use them sparingly, like I thought the episodes looked great. Like I didn't find any problems. Like I definitely have several critiques of the show, things I wish they did a lot differently. But as far as the show and what they've shown us come like by, like I can't really think of any like real problems. You know what I mean?
No, and I mean, her quote in here about the story itself is actually really telling, I think, after the first two episodes. She said, having to keep track of the storyline that sort of spiraled down to the heart of what the story was about, and I hope we've achieved sort of the Star Wars version of that with this storyline. With the Rashomon elements, which deep samurai film cut for the fans.
Yeah.
If you've never seen it, go watch it. Go watch it in black and white, the original subtitled version. You'll have a blast. I love that movie. And seeing things from two different sides. This is the point of view from one character. This is the point of view from another character. I would say that Russian Doll prepared me really well for the story we're telling here. And then she finishes up with the practical sets, the familial clashing, struggle between master and apprentice, father, daughter, sister, and sister. All of these things are elements of George's stories. You know, Ahsoka and Anakin, Luke and Anakin, Obi-Wan and Anakin. I'm hoping to embody all of those particular tropes and elements. And hopefully we've achieved that in a way that feels both fresh and reverent to what George has created. And after seeing the first two episodes, I am inclined to agree with her feelings on that. I do think that this shows a lot of like the same story elements as George. What do you think?
I mean, I think Star Wars is Star Wars, and like the universe that George Lucas created is amazing, but it can't just be his vision all the time. And as long like Andor, as great as it is, I don't think that's, you know, the kind of Star Wars that he told. You know what I mean? You know, I think something like Rebels, you know, the cartoon show,
Yeah.
kind of made for kids, isn't that? But it holds kind of the magic that he created. You know what I mean?
I think that boils down to him always having said that like Star Wars is in fact for the children. And like things like Rebels and Clone Wars feel very George Lucas-y because Rebels is the first thing Disney did, isn't it?
It was on XD and around the right time, so I think so. Because Clone Wars came out before Revenge of the Sith, the 2D, and then the other series I think started in 2008, and he sold it in 2012.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like when you look at Rebels, they were going to play it safe, but they really did, I think, a good job of showing like the same story elements he's been talking about for 30, 40 years in these films.
I think everything that's come out has shown him respect and not tried to be like, you know, change everything about it, you know, with the exception of The Last Jedi.
We're not going to talk about The Last Jedi.
Fair enough. My apologies.
Oh, it's a good one. I don't care. It's a good movie. It's one of my favorite Star Warses. Now, I believe you have some either ors for me that the fan base has answered as well. So we're going to start out with this one.
I like that we got the fans involved and there's an actual poll now. Who did the fans vote for this?
So go ahead with your question. What is
obviously we have like the big droids, the middle droids, and the R2 checks, but these are kind of like, you know, pocket-sized droids. You know, we know BD1 from the Fallen Order games, and Pip is new. You know what I mean? A little more handheld. So, you know, which one would you rather have on an adventure?
I think Pip, because Pip seems to be a little more mischievous than BD. Also very like, I love the idea of a multi-tool droid where she just pops the head off and it's a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Really I've really liked Pip myself, but the winner from the community poll was in fact BD1 with 75% of the vote.
How could you not vote against BD1? Like I almost kind of set Pip up for failure there. You know what I mean? But BD1 literally attacked Vader once, so it's like bro's got balls, and you know he's the man.
He's like that dude that takes his shirt off the moment the op shows up, for sure. Like he's just chill before then he's just up and off.
I like that even, you know, years and years and years after, you know, the first droid R2D2 and, you know, C3PO and Gonki kind of came in A New Hope, that they're still, you know, designing new droids. Because Pip is cool. Like, I didn't expect something like that. He's rarely
I
handheld. Like you
really,
said, you could take him off. He's obviously super multifunctional. Like it's a cool droid to have because we need droids in Star Wars.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think again, with BD1, they were like, oh, this little guy shoots little stim canisters out of him to heal you. This one, they're like, oh, it's a mechanics multi-tool.
Yeah. Fighting
and
Octo. Stim.
So our next one, go ahead.
Who do you think did the better job acting in the first couple or episode 2 and for him, and then episode 1 and 2 for Saul?
I'm going to be very, very honest. I think the answer is Lee Jung-jae.
Okay.
I love the fact that we get Jason Mendoza in Star Wars. I didn't even know that was him until you told me.
He looked like Ezra, man. Ezra Miller. Like,
yeah, a little bit.
With the hair in his face, and then I saw him, and my girlfriend watches The Good Place. And she recognized him immediately. She's like, I love him.
But I didn't recognize him because of the hair.
Yeah, I love the shaggy hair in person.
I'm sorry to report that Lee Jung-jae, 91% of the vote this week to him, and that's actually our most voted poll this week. So
I'm gonna go against that poll. I think Kumir, is that his name in the show? Kumir?
Yeah.
He did, I think, the best job acting out of anybody in that cast. Like anybody, I think. Like he was just solid in his character because he showed so many emotions. He was kind of playfully drunk. He got serious. He mentioned the first line of the Sith code. Then he kind of like got really like intimidating, walking like right up to him, was like, "You look just like her." And then he gets and he just blocks her right away. Like he hit a nail on the head. Like no notes.
I think he did a really good job, but I think that the amount of screen time he got might have something to do with that, because we see a lot more of Master Soul in the first 2 episodes, and I really loved him in this. Going from Squid Games to Star Wars has kind of proven that he can do. He has some range.
Yeah. He learned English, man, for that role, and like he did a great job in 6 months of learning language, being able to like, portray a strong, powerful Jedi leader, like emotion, like of connection. Like he did a really good job too.
Knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. Now for the third one, why would you do this to me?
I love to cause controversy. And who would you save, my friend? Would you save Tech or would you save Kanan? Because that ain't an easy question.
This is not an easy question, but here's the problem.
They're both looking at you, so
I know. The thumbnail is the worst part of this. So here's the problem, right? I feel like if we save Tech might live until like after the Empire falls. Kanan's dead. Regardless, no matter what happens, Kanan is gonna die. Because you know what can kill him if this gas didn't? Vader.
Yeah.
He was already on the radar, but if he did some shit like this and had lived, I think Vader would have slapped him down. So I feel like that is a resurrection that just ends in a different death. So I'm going to go with Tech because we stand a neurodivergent king.
Yeah. I love him. What the internet say?
So
you're right. Both were necessary.
Yeah, both were necessary. We are tied here, 50-50.
Get the fuck out.
Like I said, this is a hard one because in my heart of hearts, I say Kanan because I like him a lot as a character. I think he might be one of the best written Jedi post Order 66 that we've seen. But genuinely,
you don't think he is the best Jedi? You think he's one of, or you don't think? I think he's the best representation of a Jedi we have ever gotten.
I really liked The Last Jedi. So my thoughts on Luke in that movie kind of skewed. I think he's number 2, and Mark Hamill's old Luke is number 1. And that's because I too
try to pick a fight right now.
Stir the pot like a mother.
This whole podcast will turn into an argument about The Last Jedi. We need to move on.
All right. So let's get to the meat and bones of it. The Acolyte. We've waited. We've heard a lot. We've understood. I feel very little up until we got these first 2 episodes. So, Rich, episode 1 through 10, where do you land?
I rated like a 6.5, maybe a 7, because I love Star Wars.
Yeah, What about the second one?
Second one, I'll give it like a solid 7.5. Like it was definitely better. I don't think they're in the 8 or 9 or 10 territory at all. We've seen peak Star Wars. I don't think this is it yet, but I think they've taken a couple of risks.
Mm-hmm.
I like definitely had some problems with it. You know what I mean? But I don't think the problems I had, result in me hating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What about you?
Me, I think I'd say a 7 on the first and 8 on the second. I thought that the second episode really sets a lot up very well, and it left me with a lot of stuff to kind of chew over and think about, which I liked.
Would you like the characters and stuff, like all the new? Because there are a lot of new characters.
I think that that's a part of it. Is I really did like almost every character they've introduced. I did not very much care for the Miralukin Vernestra, the one from the books, but I don't know if that was because of the actress they picked for her, or if it was just like she was playing who that character is, because I've not read the books. I don't know much about her, but apparently it's a much later period in her life.
Like, I'm always the person who kind of like hates nepotism. And I think like there's always better actors when you just pick someone you like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a secret that I think that character you're describing, I think she's married to the writer and the director,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I think she was probably one of the worst parts of the show. I think she was flat. I think she didn't know. I don't think she looked that good, which isn't her fault. I think that's more makeup. But I just don't think she did a good job. Like it sounded like very robotic, everything she was saying. And it's okay to like kind of have like the Star Wars kind of like dialogue where you're like it's a little campy. And I think the actress who played Saul's apprentice kind of did that very well. She's kind of telling quips, she's jokes, she's just kind of whimsical.
Oh, Yord's coming. Well,
But I don't think that she did a good job. So like she was one of the parts I didn't like.
See, and I don't know. It could be that this is how that character's supposed to be, because it's supposed to be like a larger representation of this very stiff, very serious presentation the Jedi seem to have of themselves in this period.
Yeah.
So it might just be we don't like the character. But I'm with you. I think out of everybody in the show, she might have been my least favorite. But I don't think it's the actress so much as what they're doing with the character to kind of stand in thematically for the Order writ large.
Yeah.
I will say, I am surprised that you rated the first episode so highly, because while you do get this badass fight scene.
Yeah, and I hope they don't kill, I figured her name. What's her name? Who played Trinity in the Matrix?
Carrie-Anne Moss.
And I hope they don't kill, I figured her name. What's her name? Who played Trinity in the Matrix? Carrie-Anne Moss. And I hope they don't kill, I figured her name. What's her name? Who played Trinity in the Matrix?
You did this.
5 minutes in, bro. I'm watching the first episode, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I get that you're probably being a flashback or two, and I know the plot needs her to die because it's a murder mystery, whatever. But you killed her in the first 5 minutes. Probably one of the better actresses in the entire show.
You called it.
I did, and I
like did this
because like they showed her too much in the trailers. Like, oh yeah, she's dead.
She's dead. She's gonna die. And it was all in this scene for the most part. I think there's maybe one shot from the trailers that she is not in this scene.
Yeah, so she's in at least one flashback. Probably like when they show what happens to May. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which, let's talk about that for a second, because that's one of the biggest mysteries of this show that's kind of perplexed me. What did these guys do on Brindog, do you think? We know there was a fire. We know they thought May was dead. May thought Osha was dead.
I think they probably caused the fire. Like they say in the show that May caused the fire that killed her family. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that story is kind of like a half-truth. Like I think May was involved, but I think these four kind of did something unknowingly or knowingly that caused her parents to die. And I think that's why she hates them so much. Not so like she killed her parents type deal.
This is very interesting because this feels like one of the central mysteries that we're going to have over the season. I don't think we get an answer until either the last episode, if at all, as to why May wants to kill these four and what exactly it is that happened on Brindog. But what I can infer is I think that Master Torben, the guy that was played by Tom and Baratheon's actor, who just has a horrible typecasting now, I guess.
I'm the guy who kills himself.
It's like the worst version of Sean Bean's typecasting. I'm the guy that dies in everything because
Yeah, to
I
commit
kill me.
suicide. It's a little
But
weird.
I think that he and it's Kel Naka,
Yeah.
the name of the Wookiee Jedi. I think they fought, and I think that Kel Naka used his hands, like his claws, to do some damage to him. That's why his face is all jacked up. And I
Okay.
think that that is why Kel Naka is in exile, because we know that Leslie Headland is a deep lore Star Wars fan. And for those of you who have played it, Knights of the Old Republic features a Wookiee who is not a Jedi but is traveling with one, who is considered a Mad Claw, which is what they call them when you use your actual hands to attack somebody instead of a weapon. We know he was exiled from his home planet of Kashyyyk. And then we also have another character that I feel like Kel Naka at the end of episode 2 kind of mirrors in the same game. Jolie Bendo, the Black Jedi that was living in the like Shadowlands of Kashyyyk in exile as well.
That's all news. I haven't played KOD in a while.
It's so good. I'd played it like last year and have another playthrough going because my kid likes it and I can read to her.
You think Kel Naka dies in the next episode?
I don't know. If she's going to try to kill this Wookiee without a weapon, I'd be curious to know how it worked.
That's a weird little aspect of the like kind of like I guess like training that she's going through. Like she can't kill them with a lightsaber or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I also like, speaking of not using a lightsaber, how they show, the two sides of a Jedi where Yord has, ignited his lightsaber a lot.
He keeps that thing on.
Yeah, and Saul hasn't done it once.
Yeah, it's
no, not once. In
no,
the trailers,
not once.
yeah, but not in the first.
You're right.
episode.
I'm thinking of Carrie Ann Moss when she did hers at the very end of that fight when she gets stabbed.
Because when I was rewatching it, so like I definitely know what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
May says to her in that line, you don't light your weapon unless you're ready to take a life.
Yeah.
So that way, when Saul's fighting her, he's not going to light her up because he doesn't want to kill her. You know what I mean? I also think that they showed the best version of Force speed since the Phantom Menace in their fight, because there's one scene where they kind of slow it down, and all of a sudden he's like right behind her.
Yeah.
That was fucking sick. Like that was the first time I've seen the first moment in either episode where I was like, wow, that's cool. That's so cool. Like something I haven't seen that, excites me in Star Wars. That was really dope.
I'm going to completely agree with you there. It took me a minute to realize what had happened.
Yeah. It was dope.
Because it was like an episode of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
He was just there.
Just
I was like, they can teleport?
Yeah. It was cool because and then like right after that, you see him, he like extends his hands and he drops all the weapons. So as he's doing this, he's like picking her pocket.
Yeah.
That like the fight scenes are probably some of my favorite parts in this episode. Like there wasn't a bad one with bad choreography, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. And we still have, based on the trailer, a lot more to look forward for. We've only seen one of these fights.
Yeah.
Now, I do think the other 3 images might be all at once.
Yeah, and towards the end probably, because you're not going to get that big fight till the end, I think.
Also, how sick is it that we got to see yellow lightsaber on screen?
Bro.
Like, I know technically we saw Rey's at the end of The Rise of Skywalker and it was yellow, which I was fine with. This is like the first one we actually spend more than 5 seconds around. Come on.
Anytime I've ever played The Force Unleashed or Jedi Fallen Order, when I get to make my own lightsaber, that shit is yellow. That is the first one I built when I went to Comic-Con. So like I didn't even like Yord because I'm like, he's kind of like it's like the fall guy. Like you just want to shit on him all the time. And then he lit his lightsaber, was like, all right, I'll give him another chance.
Honestly, I think Yord might be one of my favorites so far. Like, he's very brash, very bullheaded. But even then, he was quick to admit when he was wrong in the second episode when he was like, yeah, it wasn't her. I was following her this whole time. She didn't kill him.
I honestly like that whole aspect of the episode because Saul's talking to the master in the palace, and she's like, your girl didn't do it because someone just got attacked and she can't be in your ship and there. So they have the proof that she didn't do it. And he doesn't tell Yord that because he wants Yord to like learn to trust her on his own, which happens in an episode.
Yeah.
I really like that aspect of that.
I was really surprised because like right after the first episode, I called my buddy who was sitting down watching at the exact same time I was. Like, I was on the phone with him when we both started. And he was like, I think that she's like possessed, or is like got two personalities. I was like, nah, I think it's two people.
I like the two people aspect of it because it's definitely like a little Parent Trap-ish, and I think I was a little worried because when I saw the trailer, it's like she doesn't look like she's gonna do anything really good job, and then she did two good jobs. She did a really good job as Osha. She did a really good job as May, playing two different characters. So that's another part of the episode that I was really pleased at.
What has really surprised me about her role is, number one, I wasn't expecting two completely different characters at all, but how well she does that. So, do you think they're a dyad? I've seen some people talking about this online, kind of like Rey and Kylo were.
I think
Do
we
you
need to
think the
move
same
away from
deal?
the dyad. So I kind of hope not, but I feel like it's definitely a connection. Obviously, you know what I mean. There's that moment where like
Yeah.
she was a shooter and she couldn't do it. There's definitely going to be something there, and I feel like one's definitely going to kill the other. You know what I mean? Because I don't think they're going to keep the two forever because that's just a lot of work.
Well, it's also kind of weird that they have that little poem that they recite to each other in one of those dreams where they say, like, you give me, I give you, you. That makes me kind of lean towards maybe this is going to be like, oh, dyads do happen more than just this one time, which I'm fine with.
That was kind of like my favorite part of the episode, where she wakes up and has that force vision on the snow planet, and she chases the younger one out, and then all of a sudden they're both younger and talking to her. Like, that's the kind of Star Wars stuff I miss. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Give me more of the weird vision caves.
Yeah. But I'm mad though, because I really like this show, but I think like there are a couple missed opportunities. Like, that should have been on Ilum. That whole planet, that snow planet, should be Ilum, because it's a planet that's extremely strong in the Force, and for her to crash land there, have a vision there, kind of reconnect to the Force for the first time there, because she tried to use the Force when she was escaping, couldn't do it. She was totally cut off, and then all of a sudden she lands on this planet, and all of a sudden she's connected to it again. It would have been great if they brought the Clone Wars, the Force Awakens, to kind of connect all those other Star Wars property to Acolyte that way.
Now let me ask you this: do you feel like they didn't do it on Ilum because we've heard so much criticism about, oh, it's Tatooine again?
No,
and they were already reusing Coruscant.
I think they didn't think about it. Like I know Leslie Headland's a great writer. She's obviously written plenty of things. I've never written shit, so I can't criticize her other than a fan. You know what I mean? But I think sometimes in Star Wars, they forget that Star Wars is insanely large now. There's comics, there's books, there's fan fiction, there's the movies, and all the theories that, like, if you kind of MCUify it a little bit, where you just show that it is a little more connected, it's better.
Well, we did get a little bit of that, and we were going to talk about this, but I mean, we got the Bresh Vow.
Yeah.
Which was a 2017 Vader comic where that originated from, which makes me feel like you're right and that we will see a lightsaber get bled this season.
That'd be the dopest thing, man. I like when I saw that in Force, not the, what was that, the second Jedi game? Jedi Outcast? Or Jedi Fallen Order was the second one? But anyway, it was the guy from the High Republic, and he just bleeds.
Oh, yeah, Survivor,
yeah. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and like, if we see that live action, that'd be so dope.
Well, the thing is, and I'm sure or have an idea, because I'm sure you've looked up, the Bresh Vow was in a comic where Vader bleeds his lightsaber crystal by defeating a Jedi Master who took the Bresh Vow with no weapon.
That was just a cool aspect. Like, I'm kind of sad how Tommen goes out, but like when he just had that force field and she's trying to punch it and couldn't get through, that was so cool to watch.
It was, and that's like very interesting because he's just like floating there, completely focused, can't get touched, and then she's like, "You need to tell them what you did, or you can take this poison. I'll forgive you."
Yeah.
And then I thought we were doing the right thing for his last words. What did they do?
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna find that out until like the 4th episode, halfway through. But
I hope it's later than that, honestly. I really hope we don't get an answer until like the very end.
Because the one thing I'll say about this is that the pace is not bad at all. The pace is very good. Because I was afraid they were gonna drag out the whole, is OSHA kind of guilty? And like within the first episode, they're like, nah, she clearly didn't do it. This other person did. So they were able to
Yeah.
kind of move away from that, and I was happy. So yeah, I like the parallels with the whole fugitive scene, with the right at the edge of the tunnel. You know what I mean? I think that should be done more often because I love that kind of drama.
I saw a meme that was like, if I had a nickel for every time Star Wars referenced The Fugitive, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Right? I love that TikTok sound, bro.
But you know what? I want to talk about some other things that aren't so great in the community this week. I want to talk about online reactions to this show a little bit. And we have a lot of hate from the usual suspects. However, you can tell that this one has really pissed them off. Because you know what the number one criticism I've seen's been?
Is it the fire?
The fire.
And I'm gonna be 100% dead ass. I was watching this, and I looked at my friend, and I was like, "There shouldn't be a fire in space," but I'm not that mad about it because it was a joke. It was funny because it has happened in Star Wars a lot. But when you go online, it's like you shot the fucking president with this scene. You know what I mean? They're just
They
like,
claim to love
Star Wars. You don't know what they're doing.
the prequels so much. And they're like, oh, Rogue One's the kind of Star Wars movie we need. But here are 2 examples of fire in space in both those films.
Yeah. It's like, my guy, we've literally heard TIE fighters going, like, there's no sound in space. That's just added for show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my guy Han Solo had like a little mask on and was just, in his jacket, just in space, in some worm. Like, he didn't get like pressurized, didn't die. It's like a movie where we lift things, like, you have to suspend a little bit of disbelief. A little bit.
Honestly, rule of cool wins here. Do either of these scenes look as cool without the explosions and the fire? Fuck, the Death Star blows up in the first one.
Bro, exactly. Like, there's that, and then there's, the manufactured hate that I've seen. Like, I sent you except
all the space magic or none of the space magic. Very well put.
Miss Manicus is totally right. You know what I mean? And like, I sent you that one TikTok or not TikTok, that Twitter post where you saw 9 million people had seen this one video of the actress who plays Ocean May, and she's talking about how she wanted to make like men cry or something like that, or make them uncomfortable. And it's a 2-year-old clip talking about a movie about police brutality. But when you go online, they're like, look what she said about Star Wars. This isn't for us anymore. This isn't for us. And, before anyone corrects it with their stupid, like, wannabe community notes, it's been seen by 9 million people, shared by like, 10,000 people. So that's just the story out there. And it's just a made up lie.
Yeah.
And they did this with that other actress or the other director who's going to direct the Rey movie, when she said, she wanted to make men uncomfortable. She enjoys doing that. And it was a movie about, I think, like South Africa and like what women go through and stuff. But they just say, nope, she's talking about Star Wars, because they want to make you mad, because ever since 2016, it's just, how can I make you mad on the internet so you're on my side?
Well, even the Rolling Stone this week had a really shitty line in their review, and I'm going to read this verbatim. 2 of the show's actors play Jedi here. Rebecca Henderson is Vernestra, a green-skinned, high-ranking member of the Order. Charlie Barnett is Yord, a Jedi nerd with an unfortunate rooster haircut. All right, first off, he has locks, so that's kind of rude and disrespectful.
That haircut does fucking suck, though, and they keep giving it to guys in Arcane and Star Wars. Is like, none of my homies have that haircut. None of them. Like, stop using it.
If it would let me, a white guy, get dreads finally, I'd get it. And then our second part of this is Lee Jung-jae, the Emmy-winning star of Squid Game, isn't fluent in English, and as a result, his line readings can be halting at times. Now, I really, really hated that. That's the part that really cooked me, because I feel like the way that he talks is very, very, like, it's a choice. It's not. This man has access to the best fucking language coaches in the world. There's no way that he kept that on purpose or on accident. I feel like that is a choice.
I thought it was a choice too, man. Like, he sounded stoic. It sounded like he wanted to sound kind of like Qui-Gon, who he said he is admired. I can't, like, he had so much emotion in his face, the way he moved. You know, I don't think any I hated the way, I think her name was Vanessa or whatever, the green alien. Like I thought her acting was so bad. But like Soul, I didn't see it. Like I thought he did a good job.
Yeah. And I mean, even then, like setting aside Liam Neeson specifically, we know that Leslie Headland is a fan of Rashomon, which is a samurai film made in black and white in Japanese. So I think another part of it is a lot of his speech patterns kind of mimic the older samurai in those movies. Like he's choosing every word with a great amount of intent.
Yeah, because he wants
which is
the whole
something George Lucas was nuts about with like his homages to Kurosawa films in the original movies.
Yeah. What didn't you like about it though?
What didn't I like about it? I did not like Vernestra. I don't think that character. I think it's more like, and you see this a lot on the internet, like the Jedi bad scene. They're just like, oh yeah, all the Jedi are just space cops, this, that, whatever. They're terrible people. And that's never what George intended.
I know, I hate that so much.
And like, I get that we have to show that like how we went from the High Republic, this gleaming age of the Jedi where everything was beautiful and they were the knights of the universe, to how we end up in the prequels. But that doesn't mean I have to like it anymore.
You know, I wouldn't have minded what they did in the prequels if they kind of fix it in the sequels, because like in the sequels it was just Luke again saying, oh yeah, the Jedi are bad, they have so much hubris. It's like the Jedi are the heroes. I don't understand why we go away from this. You're like, yeah, they were arrogant, but that's the one story in the one part of that time period that was used against them because of the Emperor. That's not them forever.
But I think that's all they have like access to. Like Luke has the foundational Jedi texts in that movie, and then the 2 Jedi he knew personally and his dad to go off of. Yeah. And his dad's the one that like put an end to the whole thing. So not a great example of a Jedi there. Yeah. But, you know, I do feel like we do see like Master Soul is an outstanding example of like the golden age of the Jedi. Yeah. And just the other thing I didn't like is some of the editing is a little odd for me. And it might just be because no one's done a transition wipe in Star Wars since George Lucas sold it, I feel like. And I was kind of happy to see him back, but it is like there were 2
cool ones, but they did like 9 of them in total. It was like, you might be overdoing it a little bit.
Oh, I'm here for it.
Yeah, like a couple of them are cool. Like one of the wipes was like, oh, that's nice. Classic.
George Lucas was a Windows Movie Maker away from putting a star wipe in that. All right.
I think the one thing I really, really didn't like is there's no reason this movie couldn't have taken place, 10 years, 5 years before The Light of the Republic or The Light of the Jedi book that came out, which is kind of like 100 years more behind. Because, they say in the opening crawl, it has been a time of peace for thousands of years. And that's like a fucking lie. Like we had Martian Rowe and like all his people who were causing like a lot of things. Like they blew up like an entire Jedi, like I think cruiser or something like that, and almost destroyed an entire planet and system. It's like, you're just ignoring that. Like how cool would it have been if when they set the story up, they took 1 or 2 or 3 characters like Stellan or, Avar Chris, and you kind of put them in this story. So that way, like you kind of have this really big adventure before the Light of the Jedi. So that way you get into these characters, and then when the story ends, you'd be like, oh, that's it. Be like, nah, there's this amazing trilogy that comes out that you can decide to read. But instead, they want to create these new characters, which is cool. Like I like Saul, I like a couple other ones, but like you would have had an entire fan base that is already there watch this show because there are characters they love in this show. And I think that's an insanely missed opportunity because they just don't think about it.
I think so, but again, it feels like this is something that Disney probably said, hey, we don't care what you do here, but what we want is to introduce the High Republic while keeping it familiar for fans. So you're going to set this close to the Phantom Menace. We're going to have kind of a familiar looking Jedi Order that's slightly different because we're at the tail end of the High Republic. And from there, we don't really care. Because I do think what's going to happen here is people will see like Venestra, for example, is in the books. They're gonna be like Wookiee Jedi, and someone's gonna say, yeah, they should have used Buriaga. So you have somebody else that's recommending a book. I do think that in part this is maybe trying to open up more of the new expanded universe.
Because in the end, you want it to be successful.
Yeah.
You don't want to alienate fans. Because, they say Star Wars is for everybody, but you have online trolls trying to disprove that. They have the fact that they, discontinued the EU. So, like, the fans who were there from the beginning feel like kind of kicked in the nuts from that.
But it was so messy.
Yeah, but is it any more messy than what they've done now? Any more messy than Kenobi in the Book of Boba Fett? Like, I'm not saying it had to be canon, but if you had said, hey, the EU was great, we're going to make an animated film so, they can enjoy that. And, the High Republic, these books that are really successful, that a lot of the fans love, we're going to give you these characters in live form in this new adventure. That way you're kind of just getting the fans you have and bringing them to something new instead of just putting something out there and saying, let's see what fans like this. Maybe Rebel fans like this, maybe Andor fans like this, maybe something new. And I think that's a bad business model for them. And that's why it's not as successful as it could be.
But I do think the one thing the Acolyte does very well in that regard is they are bringing back a lot of EU stuff that was popular here again. We saw the Selkath. We saw Zygerians, which those were in Clone Wars. But we did get mention of Nar Shaddaa as well.
I think that was dope because I've heard Nar Shaddaa in like a shit ton of video games, like a couple of the books, and like it was kind of like when I saw the Kessel Run in Solo for the first time. I was like, oh my god, like I've been waiting to see what this place really looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think we're getting the opportunity to do some of that. I think the fact that Leslie Headland has pulled a lot of inspiration from the EU has helped. Like the Sith Code is nowhere in Disney canon, but we got the first line of it. And her saying, I know, means that it is, in fact, still the Sith Code, folks. We're cooking again. But the other question...
You think you'll get a mention of a gray Jedi? I feel like you feel like when you hear the word gray Jedi is like when I hear The Last Jedi. Like we both want to slam our heads into the wall. I have the exact same reaction.
If they did it differently and clearly defined it,
you would still hate it.
Maybe I'd be fine with it.
You're lying to me. I do this with you every week. You would hate it. As soon as you hear gray Jedi, you'd be like, fuck this shit.
I don't know, because I've heard the argument like when I think gray Jedi, I think like Master Qui-Gon, who didn't follow the Jedi Council, but was also not like, oh yeah, since I'm not really a Jedi, I can use Force lightning and choke people. Like I think if you set it out with very clear parameters, it could be good.
Like I think of the Bendu when I hear gray Jedi. Like I don't think gray Jedi, but I think gray Force user. Yeah. And here's the thing: you just reminded me. Do you think, because there's a big rumor, do you think Plo Koon is going to be in this show?
I know in the EU he was like 300 and some odd years old at the time of the Phantom Menace, so it is entirely possible we see him. I think we even saw Kel Dor in the trailers.
Yeah, we did. We're like, it looks like Plo motherfucking Koon.
And I'll tell you this much: if Dave Filoni has a vote, he'll be here. That's his favorite Jedi. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's him. I really would like to see him again at a different age where he's like younger and, more active than he was just sitting on the council. Like maybe we see him as a knight.
Yeah.
Or a master with an apprentice. I would be here for it. I hope it's him. I think it would be dope.
Yeah, me too.
Now, here's one for you. Who do you think the big bad Sith Lord in this is? We got a couple of options that have really caught on online, and I'm going to read them out here. We've got Khmer, Tenebrous, who is Plagueis' master. We have Plagueis. And as always, the unhinged stands must insist that Papa Palpatine is behind all of this.
Papa Palpatine. I think the best choice would be Plagueis, honestly. And I think him killing most of the cast involved would be dope, and that's why he stays hidden for another however many years. But based on like the second episode, I think it's Khmer, man. Like he was able to dodge her attacks a little too easy, and just that tone shift when he like realized it wasn't May, it was Osha.
Yeah,
it would like he's like it was good. It was good. I think it would be cool to see if it was him.
I think so, but I'm not ruling out that maybe Khmer is Tenebrous. I've seen that floating around a lot. I really hope that they don't make Plagueis a human. That would upset me a little bit because he was a moon in the original ones. The like banking clan people from Clone Wars. Yeah, that's what he was, and I think that would be dope to see in live action at some point.
You think the big bad you're ever going to see him without his mask, or it's just masked the whole time?
I don't think he's the big bad. I think he's an apprentice.
Really? You
I think May is the acolyte?
Okay. That'd actually be pretty dope. I would like to see that, because then like you leave a little more mystery and possibility like a season 2 type shit.
Like I genuinely, it feels to me like this is very much Vader and Starkiller. And we haven't seen Palpatine. Not that it will be, but we haven't seen the Palpatine in this situation surface yet. Because I really feel like that's something you have to save. Now, I did want to point out real quick, the costumes are better than we thought they were going to be. This is a very bright spot for me, and I think you too, because you were the one that had a little bit of criticism on the trailer costumes, the white robe.
It just looked like cosplay, bro. But this looks better, and not even just that. Like this set looks good. You know what I mean? Like that whole planet that they were on with the Jedi, like little mini temple. That just looked real. It looked like a real set. The people dressed in their clothes, walking around in their speeders, that looked good.
And I think that I kind of said, I believe that those were like more ceremonial robes.
Yeah.
So yeah, called that one. But you still did bang on Carrie-Anne Moss dying in the first episode.
So mad. Speaking of that, you got any predictions for the next episode or episode 4?
I think next episode we'll see Kel Naka. I think that somewhere between there and 4, we will get at least one point of view. Okay, so here's the thing that you're gonna hate. And I haven't talked about this yet because I was saving it for when it happens.
All right.
But The Last Jedi, the whole Luke and Kylo opposing stories thing, is Rashomon.
Okay.
So that's like the whole May thinking Osha is dead, Osha and Yor and Soul thinking that May is dead. That is like the central element of Rashomon, is it's 2 stories from opposing viewpoints. So I do think we get at least one viewpoint of what happened on Bryndock, at least some of it, in episode 4. Episode 3, I think it's safe to say we might see Kel Naka, the Wookiee Jedi. But I don't think he dies. I think that that Master Soul is going to continue to go after May to try and stop her.
I think Kel Naka dies because I think all 3 of them die except for Soul. And I think at the beginning, because I kind of agree with you, I think we're going to get a version of what the fire looked like at the beginning of the episode in a flashback type thing. Like they're going to open the episode with that. But I think that, like in terms of like a larger kind of like thing that's going to happen, we're eventually going to see May with a lightsaber. Like I think she's going to kill Kel Naka and maybe use his. Finally, because we see her reaching for one in both fights, and she just can't get it. I think she's finally gonna get one.
That shit with Soul, where he was just like dancing out of her way with his hip, nuts. That fight was so good.
I like more the one with Soul in her, or the one with Carrie-Anne Moss's character Indara.
Very tough, but I gotta give it up to Master Soul. I think that fight was way more badass. Like I loved the choreography right off the bat in that opening fight. But I really think that like seeing less was knowing more about what was going on. Like him using the force speed to get behind her, pickpocket her all in one move, her keep trying to reach for his lightsaber. I like him just being like, no.
When I rewatched the episode, because you see it the first time, you're just kind of taking it all in. But the second time, you know what's going to happen. So like she like looks down and sees like the ground shaking, and that's where she gets the idea. And like I thought it was filmed pretty well. The entire fight scene, like I'm really excited to see, if they've done that well without lightsabers, like what are these lightsaber fights going to look like? You know what I mean?
I'm very excited to see what we get, but I do think we'll see her with a lightsaber. I don't think that'll be until the end of episode 4, but if it is Kel Naka, again, I want to know how you kill a Wookiee with no weapon, because she didn't take Torben's because she killed him with poison. She didn't take Indara's because she killed her with a dagger. So genuinely, it feels like she's going to have to kill this Wookiee in hand-to-hand combat. I don't think that's happening. which is why I'm like, I'm not sure if he dies or not, but I would also just be really upset to finally see a Wookiee Jedi in live action and then him just die the first episode he really shows up. I'd be so sad.
I like the other species kind of like as Jedi because you just see how like strong they were. I remember there was that one in the Clone Wars 2D where he had like the voice thing and he like blew like kind of like an airbender the thing apart.
Yeah.
That shit was fucking fire. And then you see I forget the name of the species, but he was in Attack of the Clones and he ran like Dex's Diner. He was one of Obi-Wan's friends.
Oh, I don't remember the name of the species. Ponkrell.
Yeah, Ponkrell is the guy, and like
it's so easily hateable. I believe Clancy Brown did his voice too.
Like that was just insane seeing like a 4-armed Jedi with 2 fucking lightsabers, like
2 double lightsabers,
like
nuts.
Yeah. Like I'm excited for the lightsaber whip. Like I want to see what it looks like in live action. You know what I'm saying? I want to see like I want to see some badass lightsaber fights, man. Like a mixture of everything, Clone Wars.
I do too, but I've really appreciated the martial arts. It feels like we are picking a very strong direction post Ahsoka and Ezra doing hand to hand.
Yeah, because I'm really kind of here. It's like he's trying to disarm her and just defend himself, which is kind of reminiscent of the Matrix, Carry On Moss. But it looks amazing when you do it right.
I think that genuinely both those fights are some of the highlights of the show. Whoever they have on set doing their fight choreography clearly knows their shit.
Yeah.
And has been knocking it out of the park, in my opinion. I cannot wait to see what that first lightsaber fight looks like.
Yeah. I'm excited for episode 3 because they said that one was going to like people who have seen it, and like they get the first 4 episodes that I'm completely jealous of. They said episode 3 is going to like make the internet fight.
Good.
And I'm like, they're already fucking fighting. Like nothing has happened. Like a fire happened in space and it's like World War fucking 4 for these guys. And like, you're telling me there's an episode that's going to be worse? Like the online discourse is so frustrating sometimes.
I know. Nobody hates Star Wars fans more than a good Star Wars fan. But speaking of good Star Wars fans, before we let people go, do you have any final thoughts for this week?
I'm excited for Arcane. I saw a little poster for that. I think that's gonna be really good. I'm excited for us to cover the House of the Dragon season 2.
Every week something new drops from that's just so juicy.
You know what I mean? Definitely follow our Discord. There's a lot of cool conversations. We've just started doing the polls, which is really dope. We're gonna have them a little earlier in the week so you have more time. So that's a responsibility for me to think of these. But those are really fun. If you think of new polls, you can kind of throw them out there for us to do. It doesn't just have to be me thinking them up.
Yeah, that's true.
Follow us on definitely TikTok. You got me up there making a fool of myself. The website. We also have our best articles
and Instagram
stuff.
I would also point out, if you haven't given it a shot, have you played Star Wars Hunters?
Nah, I haven't played it yet. I think the last one I played.
You got a Switch?
Nah, I just got a PlayStation PS5.
You got a phone?
Yeah.
Bro. So I downloaded it for Switch yesterday. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of stuck on it.
What's it called?
Star Wars Hunters. It's like Overwatch, but Star Wars.
Okay.
And it kicks ass. I've really enjoyed it. The gameplay is super tight. I thought it was just going to be like a cash grabby mobile game, but it's actually pretty good. But all right, folks, that's our show for this week. You can always join our public Discord like Richard mentioned, but please, please, please like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to stay up to date with everything on our YouTube channel. And next Wednesday at the latest, you will have options for Revenge of the Pick for next week. Until then, I've been James. This is Richard. And we'll see you when we see you.
Have a good day, guys.
Bye.
Bye.